Watch Jokić video. You wanna watch Jokić video while I'm eating? Alright, I'm gonna eat and watch this. By the way, we had a discussion earlier today about Jokić being in like the GOAT debate soon. Not yet. And a lot of people disagreed with me. But then, look at this video now. You're gonna watch this video and understand what I mean. Alright, so this is... Are we witnessing the greatest peak in NBA history? Where did I put my camera though? I'll probably here, honestly.
Basketball player we've ever seen look like. Many fans would point out Michael Jordan from 1988 to 1991 as the absolute best version of a player they've ever seen. LeBron from 2010 to 2013 might also be the best version of any player in the game's history. But there have been a lot of great players who have had a lot of incredible seasons. 2000 Shaq, 2016 Curry. Maybe your choice is MVP and Defensive Player of the Year Hakeem in 94, or 03 Duncan, or maybe Bird in 86. But maybe a better way to visualize this question is this: a chart of the 100 greatest 3-year peaks in modern NBA history, with box plus minus on the y-axis and win shares per 48 on the x-axis. The further up a player is, the more productive and efficient their peak was. The further right, the larger their impact was on their team's winning. And even towards the bottom of this chart, you'll find some great names like Ray Allen at 78, DeMarcus Cousins at 66. Keep going up and you'll find perennial all-stars and franchise players like Jason Tatum, who is currently in the 46th highest peak over the last 40-plus seasons. Paul George just above him, and Vince Carter at 40. Now, this isn't some perfect method to measure players. Most advanced metrics tend to undervalue defense and overvalue offense, but overall this gives us a great picture of how impactful players were at the peak of their powers relative to the rest of the league. And at this point, we reach all-time great peaks. The guys who can carry an entire team. Luka at 15, Magic Johnson at 11, Stephen Durant at 7 and 6, James Harden and his best 3-season stretch just ahead of them, Giannis with the 4th highest individual peak, and head and shoulders above everyone else with almost identical peak numbers are Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Clearly the 2 best peaks we've ever seen. Until Nikola Jokić showed up.
What's up, motherfuckers? Literally, look at this.
And completely blew the lid off of just how valuable one player can be to his team. Is Nikola Jokić the best version of any basketball player ever?
Yes.
Today's video is brought to you by some punch out the test. How do you know when a player is truly impacting the game? They can put up great numbers, but that doesn't always translate to winning basketball. You can use the eye test, but our eyes can be deceiving. However, there is one surefire way to tell. And that's when a player is so important and so valuable that their team is utterly lost without them. Every time they step out of the game, everything falls apart. We saw this with LeBron at points in his career. We've seen this many times with Steph. And just a couple days ago, we saw this with Nikola Jokić. In their recent matchup against the Warriors, Jokić started the game, and the Nuggets got out to a 6-point lead before he checked out for the first time with 1:32 left in the first quarter. Now pay attention to the score and the time left on the clock. By the time Jokić re-entered the game, 5 minutes later, the Nuggets were down 5 points. Jokić helped the Nuggets overcome that deficit, and by the time he checked out again at the end of the third, the Nuggets were back up by 5. By the time he returned to the game, just 2.5 minutes later, the Nuggets were down 3 points. I'm eating chicken, bro. Chicken. Jokić played the rest of the game, and the Nuggets ended up winning by 4. Jokić was on the bench for just 8 minutes of this game. Was a net
also, by the way,
4.
I told my girlfriend I want to eat some chicken, and I'm gonna. You can check what if I'm not lying. I want to eat some chicken and mashed potatoes. You know what she got me? Chicken and fucking fries. Woman, you literally got me fries. I'm not gonna eat, so I'm just basically literally just eating chicken. Like I'm literally just eating chicken.
42 points, and the Nuggets won this game by just 4. And that pretty much sums up how important Nikola Jokić is on a basketball court. Pair the impact he makes on his team's success with stat lines that make you question everything you've ever known about basketball, and you have yourself a player who is beginning to enter conversations that some fans aren't quite ready to have. Are we witnessing the highest peak in the history of the NBA?
Yes.
Some people think so. We're now going on 5 seasons of this guy being the best player on the planet, and despite 3 MVPs in 4 seasons, the man has somehow found a way to take his game to even another level. Is there still a gap between Jokić and the highest peaks in basketball history? Or is this version of Jokić peaking higher than any player we have ever seen before? Well, there's a pile of evidence that suggests he is. So far this season, when Jokić is on the floor, the Nuggets score 31 more points per 100 possessions, which means Jokić is single-handedly the difference between the Nuggets being one of the best offenses in NBA history and one of the worst. But the absence of any great offensive player will wreak
Somebody asked me, what do you think about domestic violence? What the fuck?
havoc on a team. It should be expected that a system will struggle when you take out their most valuable and important player. From 2015 to 2017, the 3-year offensive peak of Steph Curry's career, the Warriors scored 15 more points per 100 possessions when he was on the court versus when
he was good, but he just spammed
offensive value.
Bro, he was just spam shooting though, 3-pointers. I think like, okay, he was insane, but like, you know what I mean?
This 3-year stretch had become the gold standard in the modern NBA. According to Cleaning the Glass, which has a database that dates back to 2004, no other player over the last 21 seasons has been able to match Steph's offensive impact. LeBron came relatively close from 2008 to 2010,
Look at this.
elevating the Cavs' offense by 13.5 points per 100 possessions. Peak Chris Paul and Steve Nash were the catalyst to 2 incredible offenses. But even amongst offensive juggernauts, Steph was in a league of his own. Until Jokić hit his peak, where he has been the most impactful
23.3 by the way.
2 decades, and it's not even remotely close.
It's crazy.
Over the last 3 seasons, the Nuggets scored 23.3 more points per 100 possessions when Jokić is on the court. That is a larger gap than most starting fives have over their bench unit. Jokić is making this big of an impact by himself. And we already knew that he was approaching, if not already at the level of some of the best, most impactful players in NBA history. But to really enter the conversation, Jokić first had to do what every all-time great must. Prove that he could be this good over and over and over again.
Sure.
That his dominance transcended who you put around him, and that his impact wasn't some 3-year abnormality. And he's now done that. He's way past the point of skepticism, and now entering the point where we have almost built a tolerance to his absolutely mind-bending stat lines. Basketball Reference cites a season where a player achieves a box plus minus.
Look at this now. This is so funny. Look at this now. By the way, if like I think people who don't like Jokić are the ones who like when they watch basketball, they want to see like big black athletic men dunk from fucking half of the court. If you only look like the efficiency and fucking everything else, he's the GOAT. Look now.
Of 10 or more as an all-time great season. As they put it, think peak Jordan or LeBron. And only 16 players in the history of the NBA have achieved this mark for a single season.
True.
Only 4 of these 16 players have achieved this mark in multiple seasons. Those players being LeBron, Jordan, Giannis, and Chris Paul. Nikola Jokić has a box plus minus of 10 or more for his entire career. Easily the highest BPM of any player in NBA history. In fact, there have only been 8 individual seasons where a player logged a box plus minus of at least 12. LeBron James did it once back in 2009,
good job.
the most productive and high usage season of his entire career. Michael Jordan did it twice, once back in 1988, arguably the greatest individual season in NBA history and the best statistical season of his career, and again in 1991.
Thank you, Pussy.
This season, Nikola Jokić is on path to accomplishing this feat as well,
Look at this.
joining an exclusive club with the 2 greatest players of all time. But he's been in the club for a while now, because he also did it last season, and the season before that. Oh, and the season before that, and the season before that one.
Just so good.
5 straight seasons of basketball.
I'm sorry, guys. Like, you look at this picture and you, what? Just too good. It's just literally too good. Thank you, Puski. Puski, thank you for the 2 months. Puski, big love, bro. Big love. It's the Eastern European depression vibes that carries at the peak of the NBA. That does it for me. Brother just wants to take care of horses. He's always back in Serbia. I agree. He's not a funny character like fucking MJ maybe was. Sure. And he's not as flashy. And he's not unathletic, by the way. Of course he's not. But I understand. He cannot really jump really high. It doesn't look cool when he plays. But bro, like, I don't know. Do you guys, are we like rating transmogs here? Or are we rating like fucking World Cup vlogs? Currently, let's go World Cup vlogs.
equal or better than the very best seasons of LeBron and Jordan. But you don't have to seek out metrics to see how Jokić has mastered the game. Every single time he steps on the court, it is clear that he is just simply better than everyone else. From the top of the key all the way to the rim, there isn't anywhere on the court where Jokić can't pick apart a team. Near the rim, Jokić is virtually automatic. He's got the size and strength to abuse even the best big men in the league. Because as everyone was tailoring their game to spacing and athleticism and speed, Jokić has gone the other direction. The size of a true big with footwork and touch around the rim that most defenders in the NBA today have no idea what to do with. For most big, punishing centers, this is the extent of their expertise. A game built to dominate around the rim. And there's two counters for players like this.
By the way, playing basketball kind of looks simple. I assume it's not, but it kind of looks simple, no? Like, it doesn't look hard, like, to make these shots, but obviously it's probably hard.
Push their game away from the rim or collapse and force them to make a play. Two counters that have been relatively effective since the beginning of time. Except Jokić will feast on both of these options. As the best playmaker in the league, collapsing or sending multiple defenders at Jokić doesn't work. He'll find the open man and make you pay with a three ball.
Yeah, look at this.
The man is sick. If anything, this is probably his preference. Send help. We wanted the three anyways. So as of late, teams have tried option number 2, force his game away from the rim. And this has worked in the past. As we saw in last year's playoffs, teams forced Jokić to shoot the outside shot, and he struggled quite a bit. 26% on 4 threes a game in the postseason. This was the chink in his armor. Well, at least
okay, so shooting threes was bad.
This season, Jokić is shooting 50% from 3 on 4.2 attempts per game.
I mean, guys, I'm sorry, but like, are we literally looking at the best NBA player of all time? He doesn't speak, he's not American, so he doesn't speak like cool ass English like you guys would prefer him to. He's not black. He doesn't jump really high. But are we looking at the best player though? It's only 19 games though? Sure, but it's half a season, right? So like, even if he was at fucking 45% after full season, it's still a lot for a center that does everything else perfectly. Brother, I think this is really good.
50%.
But why does AJ Green not have a picture? He's just like a black unlocked character.
The second most efficient three-point shooter in the league among all players shooting at least 4 threes a game. So he can crush you around the rim, and you don't even want him to get the ball down there. But he's now one of the most efficient three-point shooters in the league, so we can't let him operate however he wants out there. So let's play him close. Put a big body on him, deny the passing lanes, and get physical. Again, a tactic
regular
that
season
worked
doesn't
against
count
Jokić about as well as any other. Except that doesn't work either. Because
I agree. Playoffs obviously count more, and playoffs kind of like different. Regular season is a little bit more for the show, and playoff season reminds me more of like European basketball. They are actually more physical, and the games are more demanding. I agree with that though, 100%. He did win one ring, to keep that in mind, with fucking Denver Nuggets. Like, respectfully, bro, in like fucking 12 years, nobody's gonna remember anyone other than Jokić from that side. Like, they're all little dogs, like, respectfully.
Jokić also has the ability to put the ball on the floor and go downhill, which shouldn't be possible for a guy his size, but he does it. And once he gets to the middle of the floor, well, now you've lost. In the NBA, a player's gravity is a concept that has really become one of the most valuable things to possess.
That's so good, bro.
This is what offensive gravity looks like. When Jokić gets to this spot, the defense completely sinks in and bends however he wants it to. From here, he becomes the most lethal offensive weapon the game has ever seen.
Look at that pass, by the way. What the fuck was that pass?
And skills to do whatever he wants. From this spot, there really isn't
and he looks so
preventing
clumsy.
Jokić from at least getting the shot that he or his team wants. Again, the best
so
passer and playmaker in the league, so he'll find the open man if and when you close on him. Give him space, and he's capable of hitting the shot all day long. Or maybe he'll just put his back to the basket and back you into oblivion while you question if all that time you spent in the weight room was really worth it. Peak Jokić doesn't really have any weaknesses on offense. At the moment, not only is there no consistent, tangible way of stopping him, it looks like there isn't even a way to slow him down. And although this can be said about a few players who hit all-time high peaks, there may not be another player who is as consequential to their team and its success as Nikola Jokić is.
The only impressive rings are Jokić in Denver and Giannis in Bucks. I mean, I'm quite sure there's more impressive rings than that, but I agree, yeah. Giannis in Bucks was a good one. And Giannis is, by the way, really good. I don't know why he can like dip in performances. How old is he? I don't know. But yes, Jokic in Denver, like, what the fuck, bro? That's crazy. Nobody, at the start of that season, nobody thought that Denver Nuggets are going to win the ring. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, if you did, you're lying. He's old as Jokic. Then I don't know why he dipped, though. He was really crazy good, like, for like 3-4 seasons in a row.
So far this season, Jokic touches the ball 113 times per game. That's any time he receives a pass or grabs a rebound, a mark that leads the NBA by a country mile. But the crazy part is that the Nuggets only have 100 possessions per game this season, which means on average, Jokic touches the ball not just every single Nuggets possession, but multiple times on several possessions. In fact, since the NBA introduced tracking data back in 2014, here are some all-time great players and how involved they were in their team's system throughout their 3-year peak, how many touches per possession they were getting. And across the board, all of them are floating between 0.6 and 0.8 touches per team possession, with LeBron, Harden, and Luka carrying the heaviest load of anyone.
By the way, LeBron also is, like, I don't want to say underrated, of course, but, like, unironically, I think he's the GOAT. Like, all these stats, LeBron is there. Of course, this is from 2014, so MJ can't be there. This is, like, a new stat. But all the previous ones, well, LeBron was there.
Luka even approaching a 1-to-1 touch-to-possession ratio throughout the last 3 seasons. The Mavericks needing him to be involved in nearly every possession. And still, Jokic is on a whole nother level, where he is being utilized on virtually every single possession in every single game for 3 straight seasons. So not only does Jokic statistically contribute more to his team's winning, the load he is burdened with dwarfs even the greatest high-impact players over the last decade.
This is crazy, by the way. This stat is actually crazy. Every single Denver attack involves Jokic. Like, literally every single one. What the fuck?
Jokic isn't just the most important piece in Denver's offense. He is Denver's
offense. Well, bro, what's up?
Which brings us to the one glaring pitfall for Jokic's case as truly the highest peak of any player ever: defense. A solid defensive player at his best and a net negative player at his worst. And this is the one factor that may prevent him from peaking higher than anyone else.
I agree.
There's 2 sides of the ball. He's the best we've ever seen on one side, and he's okay on the other side. Meanwhile, there have been many great players that have been incredible on both ends. Mike, LeBron, Kareem, Duncan.
Wait, was LeBron good in defense? Was LeBron good in defense? I never looked at him as a defensive player.
Kobe, Hakeem, even Shaq and Bird were great defensive players at the peak of their powers. Jordan was almost as impactful on offense as Jokic is, while being one of the best defensive players in the league.
To be fair, like, when I was younger, same with football, by the way, especially even more in football. When you're younger, at least me, I didn't really pay attention to defense that much. I feel like the older you get and the more you understand the sport, the more you appreciate defense. As I said, like, I'm not a big basketball fan. I watch, I would say, at least 1 game a week. But football, I watch a lot, right? So I appreciate defense in football a lot more now than when I was fucking 12. I'm only good at the defense. Well, when I was playing football as well, I was a striker. So I literally had no defense knowledge whatsoever. But nowadays, I kind of look at it more. Xari died. He needs you, Pilav. I know he died, bro. It is a really sad death as well. I don't think people say he, like, did it on purpose. I don't think so. He just sucks, bro. I don't give a fuck about defense in football. Then I saw Maldini and Nesta, of course, bro. I was really young, but I remember them from Milan.
At his peak. Same goes with LeBron. And because most advanced metrics neglect defense or measure it incorrectly, the impact they had on the game doesn't quite translate to the numbers we see on the back end.
This is a nice
For example, this season, even the best all-in-one metric, estimated plus minus, has Jokic in the 92nd percentile on defense.
That's not bad.
With an EPM of plus 1.4, ahead of players
that's
like
not bad. What
Holiday
the fuck?
and Jason Tatum. This same metric has peak DPOY candidate LeBron at a defensive EPM of just plus 1.2, which is worse defensively than Jokic this season. And it doesn't take an analyst to know Jokic and 2013 LeBron are worlds apart on the defensive end. Where Jokic gets the benefit from virtually every metric we look at, some other players may not. And I don't know if unprecedented offensive mastery is enough to overcome the fact that Jokic is considerably worse on defense than others are. At least, I don't think so. But when I actually watch Jokić play, it's not the metrics, but my eyes that tell me he's influencing and impacting the game just as much as anyone I've ever seen.
Jokić gets a lot of steals per game, so he's good in that department. I agree, by the way. When I watch Nuggets play, I don't see him ever block, or like he's not really aggressive with like, but he does get steals. He's like really passionate about him. I don't know how to, like he commits to steals.
Feels a bit weird to put Jokić in the same conversation with a peak Jordan or a peak LeBron. Two players who have essentially been levitating above everyone else. As valuable as Jokić is, I witnessed a man carry second-rate teams to the finals over and over and over. And contending with the greatest player of all time is a task that no one has ever been able to pull off. But everything, from the metrics to the eye test, says he is truly that caliber of player right now. The man has been the best player in the world for half a decade. So ask yourself, how many players in NBA history have been the best player for more than 2, maybe 3 years at a time? There has been a lot of guys who've worn the crown, but how many held on to it for extended periods? The list isn't very long. Kareem, Bird, Magic, Jordan, Shaq, Duncan, LeBron, maybe 6 or 7 players in the league's history. Well, whatever list you came up with, Jokić is now on it. And he isn't just the best player on
Kobe. Wasn't Kobe like goated for like fucking 7 years in a row?
Planet today. He is one of the best versions of any player ever.
True. What do you guys think? All the stats are on his side. Everything is on his side. He is not big, black, muscular, athletic man though, so he cannot jump like Jordan did. But what do you think? Also, I think Kobe was really good for a few seasons in a row. Half a decade, just 5 years, bro. Just say 5 years, bro. Yeah, but he's a YouTuber, bro. So it's more dramatic to say half a decade. I understand him.